Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Roundtable. And this is a little bit of I'll call it an emergency press conference. This one, we are seeing a whole bunch of stuff happening out there in the market at the moment, both from a business strategy, planning, execution perspective, and in and around marketing, advertising, cost of acquisition, and a real challenge that many businesses are facing at the moment is around profitability. Now, the scary thing that is out there is we all know that the cost of advertising is not getting cheaper. The cost of promoting yourself, the cost of acquisition, you have to be far more sophisticated. You have to be better and smarter to get those results that you used to get. And there seems to be another trend coming through of scaling to profitability rather than profitable scaling. And there is a big difference in the risk profile of each approach. One can be faster, but you can do the old classic grow broke, and the other can take a little bit longer, but it is a much more fiscally responsible approach to growing your business in a considered manner that will, in the end, get you a much better outcome or a much better chance of a positive outcome. So there are some things that we're going to talk about today. Firstly, I'm going to go through things from the business strategy perspective. Why are we doing this? Why are we in business in the first instance? And why is planning, forecasting, setting budgets, and really discipline around that forecasting, the impact that it can have and why it's important to do it, and some of the tools that you can use. And then Marty and Kate are going to give some practical examples in regards to what you should be doing in and around the media space at the moment around your advertising, and you can take it from there and start implementing and executing some of these things. So forecasting for me is one of the biggest missed opportunities for most businesses. As small to medium and even some of the larger businesses that I work with, forecasting is not a disciplined approach. Business owners and leaders tend to have a gut approach to whether or not they can or should do things, and having really good discipline and accuracy around your forecasting. Now, that can be forecasting in and around revenue, but I also like to think that you can get to a point where if you can be disciplined around cash flow forecasting, you are going to have a much better business, and you're actually going to create a whole heap more opportunity for yourselves as you continue to grow and navigate through some of these tough times that we've got at the moment. So why is forecasting the big thing that I want to focus on with you and with our clients over the next 6 to 12 months? First thing is clarity and confidence replacing gut decisions, right? Like I said before, most business owners tend to default with intuition when you're making decisions around hiring, expansion, investment, and we'll do a little bit of due diligence at the time to see if it works out. And while instinct is valuable, gut-led choices can often ignore timing and the realities of cash flow. So forecasting provides a real clear line of sight into the future. So we know what's coming in, what's going out, and it turns that ambiguity into certainty. And with that clarity, you can act far more decisively, and you know whether or not now is the right moment to commit, or whether waiting a little bit more time avoids so much more of that unnecessary risk. Now, what sort of areas can that be applied to then? Recruitment, right? When you have recruitment aligned with affordability, people decisions are among the most expensive mistakes that you can make. Now, hiring too early can create wage burdens that absolutely drain the cash when your revenues lag. Obviously, it takes people time to get up to speed. You've got recruitment costs, you've got salary costs. And before that person is giving you a return on that salary, you could have burnt through a big hole. Conversely, hiring too late can leave massive growth opportunities on the table. So rolling cash flow forecasting along with that revenue forecasting can show you whether your business can absorb the new salary, where you can start that salary range at, the type of hire that you can make, and what impact it has on your cash flow runway. What resources have you got for the business to meet your operating expenses? Now, having good forecasting absolutely transforms your approach to recruitment, and it takes it away from guesswork into evidence-based planning. The real other simple thing is smarter investment into stock and that capital expenditure. Those stock purchases and capex, it's often, we tie up vast sums of cash that we don't necessarily think that we have got available to us at the worst possible times. And depending on the type of business you have and how quickly you can turn that stock over, it can have a big impact in regards to your cash conversion cycle. How long between the time that you place an order and you start tying up that cash before that stock is then turned back into a sale and that money then comes back into your account. It is an incredibly important part. If anyone has a bricks and mortar, if you have a business that relies on the sale of product, if you're not doing cash flow forecasting and you're having to buy stock in advance, you should be getting into this really seriously now, especially in this current market. Another simple thing that you can do in regards to managing this cash flow piece is when you're having a clear forecast and you can see when things are coming in and going out, you can actually manage those lumpy obligations, things like tax, other big bills, leases. You can negotiate payment terms that are around things that are going to positively impact the cash flow in your business. So one of the biggest cash flow killers is timing, right? Provisional tax, annual insurance premiums, lease renewals, debt repayment, right? How often has it happened in your business where 2 or 3 of those things have all landed in the same month or the same quarter, and it just destroys the available cash in the business, and you can be running on fumes. So without a forecast, those pileups can create massive crises. But when you are planning those things out, it's quite a simple decision to make. I'm just going to push that provisional tax out by 1, 2, 3 months. You know that you're still going to have the cash because you've got that forecast there in regards to what the additional revenues are going to be creating and things like that. It then also flows into using forecasting as a sales and collections trigger. When you can see that there is a hole in your forward-focused cash, it allows you to have those conversations and plan to get some more laser focus on closing some of those deals, chasing down some of those debtors, going out there and getting that cash back into the business so that you can make that available to do things faster. So there are so many different things that you can do. Really importantly, if you are looking at e-commerce, if you're looking at sales and you fall into the trap of the good old Kiwi discount culture, then this can really highlight what the erosion of margin will end up doing in regards to profitability. And if you're in business to work 60, 80 hours a week and not have any returns at the end of it, go ahead. Discount your way to sales growth. But if you're in business to actually make some profit and you want to have the lifestyle that a profitable business actually ensures, then cash flow forecasting is another tool that you can use to measure the impact of a discount structure or a promotion is going to have in regards to that cash flow coming in and your profitability. Finally, there are a couple of other things in and around the future of your business. If you have discipline around your forecasting and your planning, it is an amazingly valuable thing for the banks, for investors, right? Access to funding isn't just about historical performance. It's about demonstrating control of the future, a disciplined approach of showing that you were planning for this and this was the forecast, this was the actual. We can show that we were very, very diligent and accurate in and around what we were planning and how we were managing the business. And that gives investors and banks, if you're looking for loan terms or future investors, it increases the chance of that investment and potentially the value of your business as well, because it de-risks your business. And lastly, you're just reducing stress and emotional decision making, right? When we are under pressure, we often fall back on those emotional choices, cutting costs too aggressively, delaying important hires, grabbing any sales opportunity, even when they're not profitable. So forecasting reduces the emotional load by providing a clear framework for decisions. You can make really good decisions about what you're doing in the future. And also, when cash flow does become tight and you've known about it and you've planned for it and you know that things are going to get a bit tight over the next 2-3 months, because you have been aware of it for some time, you're at peace with it. You have made the decisions to deal with it, and you have confidence around the other activities you're doing in your business that are going to get you out of that cash flow hole. The impact on reducing that stress in your life cannot be undervalued. Trust me on that one. So what are some of the things that you can do to support forecasting and that cash flow discipline? Some of the tools that you can use to also bridge those gaps are things like invoice factoring, fee funding, tax pooling, leveraging short-term working capital facilities like overdrafts, but using them strategically, not as an act of desperation so that you're constantly in overdraft. Being in overdraft is not a strategy. The overdraft should be there for emergencies, right? Otherwise, again, you're just incurring more cost in your business. And then simple tools. And how many businesses are in Xero these days? Xero has some fantastic tools in regards to forecasting and budgets that you can not only forecast your revenue, you can forecast your expenses, you can forecast profitability. And if you've got a good accountant, we use Next Advisory, fantastic people. They can help you with cash flow forecasting. Things like fee funding, Smart AR, great support out there. There are tax pooling options out there that you can access to. So really, you should be looking at embedding forecasting as a leadership discipline. It is not just a finance-only task. It is about having discipline in your business and understanding the impact that your decisions are making on finance, not a finance report that retrospectively tells you how good your decision was and the impact that it made on cash. So when a business leader, sales, operations, and finance, when we all work off the same forward-looking numbers, then accountability improves. Sales see targets linked to in real capacity and the impact that it has on the business. Operations, they see workload aligned with revenue, and finance gets early visibility that they need to start steering the ship and giving us good forward-focused advice, not just telling us what has happened. And that alignment really turns forecasting into a strategic tool, not a compliance accounting afterthought. And if I can implore you to look at doing one thing, if you're not doing it already in your business, it is to invest some time in looking at how you can deploy forecasting in your business to the level that you are forecasting cash flow. The extra investment that it might cost you if you have support from your accounting firm to set that up and maybe support you for a while going forward, it will be repaid so many times over just in a reduction of stress, let alone the positive impact that it can have in regards to how you are leveraging the money that you have available to get the best outcome on your business and where you can invest it at any stage throughout the business. And I'm going to go full circle now and back to that marketing / advertising side of it, because that is really the one big lever that most of you are familiar with that will impact sales, then revenue, then cash in the bank. And what two better people than Kennedy and Marty Jenkins-Lyttle than to talk about what they are seeing out there in regards to the ad space, the media space, and what you could be doing. And I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to go to you, Kate, first. And what are you seeing in the paid media space?
I think one of the biggest trends I'm seeing at the moment is something you touched on in the beginning, Glenn. It's this kind of focus on scaling and wanting to see more out of the platforms that they have, but with not a great level of visibility on profitability and cash flow. It's sort of chasing these revenue numbers or these ROAS targets because there's a belief that through scale, more and more will keep coming. But you hit a point where you're investing too much money. The metrics aren't necessarily painting a reality for what's happening in your business. And you start to run out of cash at the end of the day. You've overinvested in these platforms. And the flip side of that is these knee-jerk reactions of, okay, well, let's pull back spend. We need to make a cut somewhere. Let's cut our media budget, which again has a significant impact on your kind of longer-term performance when you just rip the carpet out from, underneath what you're running. And I think we see it in these big shifts, like we saw it through COVID. We're seeing it now with all this chat around recession. Do we double down, put more money in? Do we pull back and reduce spend? But what is that kind of balance that we need to have to maintain cash flow, to maintain profitability, and to, have a clear idea of what success and what those targets should look like?
Yeah. Revenues for show, profits for dough, and cash flow is king. Right. If you don't have the cash, you can't spend the money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of ties into having a bit of visibility as well around what success truly looks like in a paid media space, and why are you investing in different channels? What are you expecting to see? And I think when we talk about kind of profitability, that underpins everything that you should be doing, but then how are you dividing that budget up? So how are you finding new customers? How are you kind of balancing that split between, the traditional argument of brand versus performance? What are you investing in building your brand, building your content, building high level visibility versus those performance metrics to kind of maintain that cash flow and that profitability long term? And I think people get stuck in these cycles of aggressively focusing on performance, forgetting about their brand, and then flipping too far the other side. And it's really hard to find a balance that works because there is no kind of fixed method to say this is what you should do. It is all around kind of testing and playing and understanding what works for your business, your customer.
Yeah, and Marty, that's something that you have been doing a bit of work with a number of our clients, right? Is that stepping away a little bit on campaign and channel performance, and it's the return on total marketing spend, right? So what's that philosophy around that, and how are you seeing that play out in the market at the moment?
So I have a few of these conversations at the moment, and most of them are coming into it from a kind of a blinkers on marketing approach where I trust what the platform says. I invest X, I get Y back. Therefore, I made, the difference of those two numbers. However, unfortunately, there's multiple touch points through that customer converting. You've spent in multiple places. You've also spent in places that have no attribution or trackable attribution anyway, in terms of a contribution towards that outcome. But when you live by those channel level reporting metrics and you invest based on those channel level reporting metrics, you become decoupled from the reality of what the business is actually making. Is there enough stock on hand to continue funding this current marketing strategy? Have we got enough product to sell? What are our top sellers? What's not moving? What's holding us back? What should we move? So that piece is where we start to look at things like, what reports have I got in my business that can tell me what my top sellers are, what my at-risk products are? Am I still advertising those products elsewhere in other channels? Should I be taking them out of product feeds or removing those hero creatives if I've only got a broken size range left, or if I've only got 4 or 5 of those in stock, perhaps I should flip to something else. And then you've got the stock that's holding you back equally, which is sitting on the shelf doing nothing, which is not surfacing through feeds, or it has an incredibly high cost per conversion against it. What do I do with that stock in terms of my merchandising and my planning to then surface it through site and sell it? Is it through something like remerchandise homepage collection pages? Is it through bundles? Is it through loyalty offer? Is it through some form of an event? Is it through a sale? But having the ability to see into that side of your business and make those decisions is what I would call traditional, or even honestly the more modern or younger generation of marketing doesn't seem to consider a lot of the time in how they run an ad or what the ad features. It's just, that's a top performer, I'll spend more on it, or whatever it might be, whereas there's no understanding of that, there's actually tangible business behind this, which is running in the background. It's not just the output of something from a Meta or Google Ads dashboard. So the other tool there that's essential is the view on what am I spending on ads, what are my other costs, fixed and variable in my business, what's the cost of the goods, and then am I getting any profit at the end of the day to be able to go and invest in more products, new products, more people, more ads. And if the thinking behind your marketing and the strategy behind your marketing isn't tied to those benchmarks that you're monitoring as your strategy plays out in market, that you can respond to them, you're kind of just hoping it all adds up at the end of the year and saying, oh, that's finance's problem, or that's the accountant's problem at the end of the year. So we're trying to bring a focus to what's my role in the business as a marketer in terms of my connection to supporting that cash flow? What's my responsibility around what's running in market versus what's on the shelf, or what's not on the shelf in some cases that we're trying to sell, and what's driving the a lot of the time, the cost per click or the cost per conversion has spiked on this particular product. The conversion rate or the add to cart rates dropped significantly. And having the tools that can give you that view into what's happening so you can investigate why is probably the best way to put it, because there's a context behind that you need to understand. And once you have that as a marketer, you can go and start having discussions with other areas of the business and other stakeholders to say, well, what should we do about it?
I think that's something I see quite a lot when marketers particularly have a narrow focus on platform metrics. They look at things like CPCs or CPMs and think it's a reflection of something they're doing or they're creative, they're targeting. But there's a huge platform element to that and what's happening in market. And those metrics change over time. We do see, significant inflations in all those platform metrics, particularly as we head into peak season. But understanding things like your AOV, your conversion rate, your on-site behavior, those are things that you have stronger control over, and mirroring that with your marketing strategy. What is my content? What is my message? Where am I landing them? And then what is that experience they get when they get there is where you have a greater ability to kind of impact those results, as opposed to just looking at your CPMs and wondering why they're twice as expensive as they were last year.
Yeah. Or turn it off this week because it's spiked.
Yeah.
I would double down on that. Even greater from a business intelligence perspective of when we have marketing, sales, ops, all working in isolation, patting ourselves on the back on the great work that we're doing, we are missing a really, really important thing, and that's the impact of what we're doing on profitability in the business. And as leaders in the business, we really do have a responsibility to share as much of that information across departments so that we are aware of the impact of what we are doing, because it is only one component of what ends up being the thing that we all should care about in the business, and that is how much is left over at the end of the day, not how much it cost us to acquire a client or a sale, or how quickly we got something through, or how quickly something was put on a courier and sent out, or how we manage those subscriptions. We can all pat ourselves on the back for what we do independently, but we need to be aligned in regards to the outcomes that it's getting. And that so important as leaders that we share that information across the business, and we actually help improve the business acumen of people that are making decisions that impact profitability, because they need to understand that.
Yeah. I think that would have had a huge impact on my career starting out as a marketing assistant, understanding what the impact of the budgets I was playing with were. And when I was asked to kind of plan or put spend behind a post, what does that actually mean for the business? What is a P&L? What is the cash flow forecast? And how can I apply some of that logic to what I'm deciding to boost?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lens that we sort of came up under that unfortunately you don't have the luxury of anymore, which is just things will be okay in the background, or that's the budget, it's assigned for the year, and we expect a tailwind of, it could be 10 to 15 to 20% growth year on year anyway. Those luxuries have long since gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the modern understanding of what my effect on the business is. And it's hard if you've never been exposed to it as well. Like a lot of people assume that it's not my role, not my department. Unfortunately, the what makes or breaks a lot of the time is the understanding of your impact on that other department. It's almost a degree of empathy for the other department, or at least some sort of understanding, like I do this, therefore this happens. Without that, you're just kind of operating. It's the business level effect of what in marketing world is operating purely from meta and expecting everything to be okay on your website. It's not viable. But I see so many people that believe that that's how they'll scale their business. And the big risk that outside of just spending all of your time and effort in one channel and ignoring other metrics is that you slowly build this, you paint yourself into the corner where as soon as you stop spending in that channel, your sales are off overnight. There is no real connection to the business with the customer. There's no actual loyalty underpinning anything. That your customers will disappear or move on overnight because you're no longer paying the gatekeeper to keep reaching them and acquiring another sale, or getting another sale, I should say, or you're purely paying to acquire with no second purchase or repeat purchase behavior off the back of it. Your only way of reaching them then is to build an existing customer audience and go back to market and pay for them again, and you ignore your other channels. It's just a very single-minded or single-focused channel approach to doing business. And if something changes in the way a platform serves your content, or if something changes in the way customers or users behave on that platform, we've seen similar things in the past as well, where regulation changes and for whatever reason you can't reach customers in the same way anymore, that immediately puts the brakes on, and your whole business falls over as a result of it, because you haven't built anything to be able to switch and move into, we should look at increasing our investment here, or yes, let's move that spend into this channel. Hey, we've got an alternative over here. It's just without that forecasting and planning around what you should be doing and then how you're going to achieve that, or what you're going to do through that period, you are very much hamstrung and forced into one way of operating, and then that becomes the only way you make money. Incredibly risky.
Yep. And how familiar is this as a scenario where generally I've found in the past businesses operate their planning in two different ways. They have their manager create a budget for the upcoming quarter year, right? Oh shit, I've got to work on next year's budget. And so it's silo-driven budget. So whoever's head of sales dreams up sales budget, and generally it's whatever we did last year plus X. Whoever's doing marketing has their marketing budget. Okay, whatever we spent last year plus X for Y return. And then operations is, around efficiency and things like that. And you've got three, it's like in platform when you have, if you add up what Meta, what Google, what TikTok all say and attribute to their impact in regards to performance, you never get an accurate result. And the other way is just management dreaming up a budget for each area and saying that's what you've got to play with. And then you've got people doing execution saying, well, this is what I've been told. I'm sticking to budget. I'm just focused on hitting my number. And it hasn't actually had the rigor put into it around the cross-functional impact on the business and profitability in each of the different areas. So I think I just come back to imploring you all to start getting a little bit more disciplined around cash flow forecasting, because in reality, cash flow is king, and it is what you need to be looking at in these times, especially as the real vision of what the future of the business looks like in the next 3 months, 6 months. That is going to give you confidence around any of the decisions you make, budgets that you spend, and the ability to pivot for it. So if you haven't got the confidence to do it yourself, just spend that little bit of money to get your accountants to do it, or talk to them about what it would cost, or even if they're prepared to do it gratis for the first crack to get you set up. You will never regret getting discipline around better use of data in your business to plan in all sorts of areas. Yeah, that's my final thoughts. Anything else from you guys?
No, I think it's a great final thought and it applies to everything.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to start budgeting for lollipops for roundtable recording sessions, and that can de-risk the entire scenario for interruptions. But
Yeah.
how cool is it that we're just real people getting impacted in life? And we've got a forecast for that too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Credits to Miles.
Yeah. All right, guys. Another great session. Likewise, if you want to talk to us about growing your business and making plans for the future, feel free to reach out to any of us. I'm more than happy to have a chat.